You know, when I signed up to be a maintenance tech on Orbital Station 7, nobody mentioned I'd end up accidentally conquering an alien empire. The job description said routine repairs, competitive salary, dental included. It did not say prepare to become the most uncomfortable diplomat in human history. My name's Jake Martinez, and 3 months ago I was just another guy with a wrench trying to keep humanity's first deep space station from falling apart. The pay was decent, the work was honest, and best of all, nobody expected me to wear a tie or pretend to care about quarterly profit margins. That Tuesday started like any other. Coffee that tasted like motor oil, a work order longer than my arm, and the artificial gravity acting up again in Section C. I was elbow deep in a ventilation shaft, cursing whoever designed these access panels, when the whole station shook like a paint mixer. Emergency klaxons started wailing, which was never a good sign. Through the comm system I heard Commander Brooks shouting something about an unidentified vessel on a collision course. Great, just what I needed when I was upside down in a maintenance crawlway with my tool belt digging into my ribs. The impact knocked me flat. Emergency lights bathed everything in that lovely shade of we're all probably going to die red. I crawled out of the shaft, grabbed my emergency kit, and headed toward the commotion like any sensible person who values their continued employment. What I found was a mess. Some kind of sleek golden spacecraft had punched through our outer hull and was now wedged in docking bay 3 like a very expensive, very alien splinter. The thing was beautiful, all curves and flowing lines, but it was also on fire and making ominous crackling sounds. Through the smoke I could see someone moving inside the wreckage. Someone humanoid, which was either really good news or really bad news depending on your perspective. Command protocol said to wait for the security team, but the fire was spreading fast and I've never been great at following protocols anyway. I grabbed a fire suppression unit and went in after them. The someone turned out to be a her, and she was definitely not human. Tall, elegant, with blue-tinted skin and these striking silver eyes that were currently wide with panic. She was wearing what looked like ceremonial armor that had seen better days, and she was trapped under a piece of twisted metal. Hold still, I told her, wedging my crowbar under the debris. This is going to hurt, but staying here's going to hurt worse. She said something in a language that sounded like wind chimes having an argument, but her tone was grateful. I got her free just as her ship's power core decided to have what the technical manuals politely call a cascading failure event. We made it out seconds before the whole thing went up like a 4th of July finale. And that's how I met Princess Zara of the Keth Mori Empire and accidentally started the most ridiculous chapter of my life. Princess Zara, as it turned out, had opinions about being rescued. Lots of them. In heavily accented but perfectly clear English, she spent the better part of an hour explaining why my completely reasonable act of not letting her burn to death had apparently created a diplomatic incident of galactic proportions. You do not understand, she said for the 15th time, pacing around the medical bay like a caged cat. By saving my life, you have created a sacred bond. I am now honor-bound to serve you until the debt is repaid. I was sitting on a medical bed, getting my scraped hands bandaged by Doc Peterson, trying to process this information. Okay, so let me get this straight. I pull you out of a burning spaceship and now you owe me your life? Not owe. Bound. It is the way of my people. She stopped pacing and fixed me with those silver eyes. You are now my life bond protector. Until I can save your life in return, I must serve your will in all things. Doc Peterson snorted. Sounds like Jake got himself an alien indentured servant. I do not serve, Zara said with the kind of dignity that could cut glass. I honor the bond. There is a difference. Right, I said, because this was clearly going nowhere good. How about we just call it even? You're alive, I'm alive, everybody wins. The look she gave me could have powered the station for a week. You cannot simply dismiss a life bond. It is sacred law, older than your species has existed. Commander Brooks chose that moment to burst into the medical bay, looking like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. "Martinez, we need to talk. Now." He dragged me into the corridor, where half the station's command staff was having what looked like a controlled panic attack. "Do you have any idea who that is?" Brooks demanded. "Princess Zara something from the Keth Mori Empire?" "Princess Zara Vel Tereth, third in line to the throne of the largest military power in this sector of the galaxy." Brooks ran his hands through his hair. "The same empire that's been ignoring our diplomatic overtures for the past 5 years. The same empire that could turn this station into space dust without breaking a sweat." "Okay, so she's important. What's that got to do with me?" "According to our xenocultural expert, their society is built around honored debts and sacred bonds. If she really believes you're her life bond protector, then congratulations, Martinez. You just became the most important human in known space." I stared at him. "I fix air recyclers for a living." "Not anymore, you don't." Back in the medical bay, Princess Zara was explaining Keth Mori customs to anyone who would listen, but which turned out to be everybody since we were all stuck on the same station together. "Their culture," she said, "valued honor above all else. They had elaborate protocols for everything from greeting strangers to declaring war. And apparently, life bonds were serious business. Among my people," she continued, "to save a life is to claim responsibility for that life. The rescued becomes bound to the rescuer until the debt can be repaid in kind." "What if I don't want the responsibility?" I asked. "Then you should have let me burn." "Fair point." The real kicker came when she explained her rank. "I am not merely a princess. I am Zara Vel Tereth, battle commander of the 7th Fleet, keeper of the Crystal Protocols, and heir to the stellar throne of Kethmore Prime." "So you're like really important," I said. "Yes." "And now you have to do what I say?" "Until the life bond is fulfilled, yes." Commander Brooks made a sound like a deflating balloon. "Martinez, do you understand what this means? You've got a member of alien royalty sworn to serve you. This could be the diplomatic breakthrough we've been waiting for." I looked at Princess Zara, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "What happens if I order you to forget about this whole life bond thing?" "I cannot. It would bring dishonor to my family line stretching back 3,000 years. I would rather die." "Of course you would." And that's how I learned that sometimes doing the right thing can really complicate your Tuesday. 3 days later, the Keth Mori Imperial Fleet showed up to collect their missing princess, and my life went from complicated to completely insane. I was back to fixing things, trying to pretend that having an alien princess follow me around asking if she could assist with routine maintenance was perfectly normal. Zara had traded her damaged ceremonial armor for standard station coveralls, which somehow managed to look regal on her. Everything looked regal on her. It was annoying. "Jake Martinez," she said, watching me realign a power coupling, "explain to me why you choose to continue this menial labor when you could command me to perform it instead." "Because I'm good at it, and you're not." I tightened the last connection and tested the circuit. "Perfect. Besides, I thought we established that I don't want to command anybody." "Your reluctance to exercise power is fascinating. Most beings would abuse such authority immediately. Most beings are jerks." That's when the proximity alarm started screaming, and Commander Brooks' voice echoed through the station, "All personnel to emergency stations. We have 15 Keth Mori warships decloaking off our starboard bow." Through the nearest viewport, I could see them materializing out of nothing like something from a fever dream. Sleek, golden vessels that looked more like works of art than instruments of war. They were also roughly the size of city blocks and bristling with weapons that could probably crack planets. "Oh good," I muttered. "The cavalry's here." Princess Zara straightened, and for the first time since I'd met her, She looked genuinely nervous. My people have come for me. Isn't that what you wanted? Yes, no, it is complicated, she paused. They will expect to meet my life bond protector. They will expect ceremonies, protocols. You will be required to present yourself to Admiral Vextar, commander of the fleet and my military advisor. Required by who? By 3,000 years of tradition and the fact that refusing would be considered an act of war. Commander Brooks found us 20 minutes later, looking like he'd been chewed up and spit out by a particularly aggressive bureaucracy. Martinez, you need to get down to Docking Bay 1. Now. Let me guess. The aliens want to meet the guy who's got their princess on a leash. Don't put it like that when you meet them, Brooks said urgently. According to our translator, Admiral Vextar is what you might call old school. Very formal, very traditional, and very concerned about proper protocol. The Keth Mori delegation that came aboard was impressive in the way that natural disasters are impressive. Admiral Vextar was a mountain of a man, easily 7 feet tall, with the kind of bearing that suggested he'd never doubted himself about any in his entire life. His uniform was covered in enough ribbons and decorations to stock a craft store. Behind him came a dozen officers, all looking like they'd stepped out of a recruiting poster for the galaxy's most intimidating military. They moved with perfect synchronization, and every single one of them looked like they could break me in half without working up a sweat. Princess Zara stepped forward and began speaking in rapid Keth Mori. It sounded official and important, full of formal cadences and ceremonial inflections. When she finished, Admiral Vextar's eyes fixed on me with the intensity of a targeting laser. So, he said in English that carried only the faintest accent, you are the human who has claimed life bond over Princess Zara Veltereth. I wouldn't say claimed. More like accidentally stumbled into. His expression didn't change. You make light of sacred law. I make light of most things. It's a character flaw. That got me the kind of stare usually reserved for particularly interesting insects. Then, to my complete surprise, Admiral Vextar smiled. It wasn't a particularly warm smile, but it wasn't hostile either. Princess Zara warned me that humans have unusual customs regarding honor and obligation. He stepped closer, and I had to crane my neck to look up at him. She also tells me that you have refused all rewards for your service and continue to treat her as an equal rather than a subordinate. She's not my subordinate. She's just someone I helped out. Yes, he said thoughtfully. This is what makes you interesting. Then he did something that made everyone in the docking bay, including his own officers, stop breathing. Admiral Vextar, Supreme Commander of the Keth Mori 7th Fleet, formal representative of an empire that spanned dozens of star systems, dropped to one knee and bowed his head. I greet you, Martinez, protector bond of the royal house, and offer the respect due to your station. Every other Keth Mori in the bay immediately followed suit. Suddenly I was looking at a room full of kneeling aliens while Princess Zara watched with what I was pretty sure was amusement. Okay, I said into the silence. This is new. The formal ceremony took place in what used to be the station's main conference room, but had been hastily converted into something the Keth Mori considered appropriate for receiving alien royalty. They'd draped everything in cloth that shimmered like liquid starlight and set up some kind of crystalline device that hummed with harmonic frequencies. I stood there in my best maintenance jumpsuit, the only clean one I owned, while Admiral Vextar explained exactly how much trouble I was in. Not legal trouble exactly, but the kind of trouble that comes from accidentally becoming the most important human in interstellar relations. By the ancient laws of our people, he intoned, Princess Zara's life bond makes you a member of the royal household. Your rank within our hierarchy is now equivalent to that of a battle commander. I don't know what that means. It means, Princess Zara said helpfully, that you outrank approximately 60% of our military officers and hold ceremonial authority over 17 star systems. I looked around the room at the assembled Keth Mori officers, all of whom were still treating me like I might spontaneously combust into something significant. Can I give it back? No, Admiral Vextar said firmly. But there is something you should understand. This situation is not entirely accidental. Commander Brooks, who had been trying to stay invisible in the corner, suddenly looked very interested. What do you mean? That. Admiral Vextar gestured to the crystalline device, which projected a holographic display showing what looked like surveillance footage. For the past 8 months, we have been observing human behavior throughout this sector. Your rescue ships, your medical vessels, your emergency response protocols. The hologram showed human ships responding to distress calls, human medics treating injured aliens, human engineers helping repair damaged vessels. All the routine stuff that people like me did without thinking about it. We have watched humans risk their lives to save complete strangers, Vextar continued. Species you have never encountered before. People who could offer you nothing in return. This behavior is uncommon in our experience. Uncommon how? I asked. Princess Zara answered. Most species help others only when they expect compensation or when failing to help would bring consequences. Humans help because someone needs help. This is remarkable. It's just common decency. No, Admiral Vextar said seriously. It is not common at all. The hologram shifted to show different scenes, human traders giving fair deals to alien merchants, human diplomats negotiating peace treaties that actually protected smaller species, human colonies sharing resources with refugees from other worlds. Your species shows a pattern of behavior that suggests genuine altruism, Vextar explained. This makes you either the most sophisticated liars in the galaxy or genuinely trustworthy allies. And you think Jake represents all of humanity? Commander Brooks asked. I think Jake Martinez represents the best of humanity, Princess Zara said, looking directly at me. He had no reason to save my life. He gained nothing from it. He asked for no reward and accepted no honors. When granted power over me, he refused to exercise it. When offered wealth and status, he chose to continue his work. Admiral Vextar nodded. In our culture, such behavior indicates either profound wisdom or profound stupidity. Our observations suggest humans tend toward wisdom, even when they pretend otherwise. So what does this mean? I asked. It means, Vextar said, that the Keth Mori Empire would like to propose a formal alliance with humanity. Princess Zara's life bond provides the perfect framework for establishing trust between our peoples. And if I say no? Then you say no, and we respect that decision. But first, let me show you what we're offering. The hologram changed again, showing star charts and trade routes, technological exchanges and cultural programs. They were talking about uplifting human civilization by centuries, sharing medical advances that could eliminate disease, energy technologies that could power worlds. All of this, Admiral Vextar said, in exchange for humanity's friendship and the kind of moral guidance that Jake Martinez represents. I stared at the display, trying to process what they were telling me. You want to give us all this because I pulled someone out of a fire? We want to give you all this because of how you pulled someone out of a fire, Princess Zara corrected. Without hesitation, without expectation of reward, and without considering the consequences to yourself. That's just being human. Exactly, Admiral Vextar smiled. And that is why we find your species so fascinating. Word spreads fast in space, apparently faster than I'd ever imagined. Within 2 weeks of the Keth Mori fleet's arrival, Orbital Station 7 had become the unofficial embassy of human-alien relations, and I had become the galaxy's most uncomfortable celebrity. It started with the Zephyrians, a race of floating jellyfish people who showed up wanting to meet the human who conquered the Keth Mori with kindness. Then came the Thraxians, who looked like armored rhinoceroses, and spent 3 hours explaining their complex gift-giving customs before presenting me with what they claimed was a ceremonial war hammer made from crystallized starlight. I fix air recyclers, I kept telling people. I'm not a diplomat. You are now, Princess Zara said cheerfully. She had appointed herself my cultural liaison, which seemed to mostly involve watching me squirm while aliens prostrated themselves and offered me things I didn't want. The Crystalline Collective sent a delegation of sentient rocks who communicated through harmonic vibrations and wanted to compose a symphony about my heroic deed. The Verdant Alliance, a group of plant people who looked like walking trees, offered to name a moon after me. The nomadic tribes of the Outer Rim sent representatives bearing gifts that ranged from weapons I couldn't lift to foodstuffs that might have been trying to eat me back. Each delegation brought the same story. They'd heard about the human who saved a Keth Mori princess and refused all rewards, and they wanted to meet this paragon of selfless virtue for themselves. This is getting ridiculous, I told Commander Brooks during one of our increasingly frequent crisis meetings. Yesterday, the Aquatic Federation offered to terraform Mars into a water world as a gesture of friendship. I can't accept entire planets as gifts. Why not? Brooks asked. He'd been drinking a lot more coffee lately. Earth could use another habitable world. Because I didn't do anything special. I saw someone in trouble and I helped. That's what humans do. Apparently not what most species do, Princess Zara observed. She was reviewing reports from the various delegations, each more elaborate than the last. The Mechanical Consortium is offering to upgrade all of Earth's infrastructure. The Ethereal Order wants to teach humans to manipulate energy with thought alone. The warrior clans of Bakhtar are proposing a mutual defense pact. And all I have to do is accept being treated like some kind of messiah? You could try running away, she suggested with that amused expression she got whenever I complained about my situation. Though I should warn you, 17 different species have declared you their honorary spiritual leader, and 3 others have added you to their pantheons as a minor deity of rescue and selflessness. I'm not a deity, I'm a maintenance tech who got lucky. The Mystic Order of Vielkari would disagree. They've declared your tool belt a sacred relic. That's when I realized Princess Zara was enjoying this way too much. She'd adapted to station life with disturbing ease, trading her royal robes for practical clothing while somehow managing to look elegant in coveralls. She'd also developed an unsettling talent for anticipating problems and solving them before I even noticed they existed. Like when the Hive Mind Collective sent 17 different bodies to negotiate with me simultaneously, and she somehow arranged them in proper hierarchical order based on customs I'd never heard of. Or when the silicon-based Confederacy's translator kept malfunctioning, and she switched seamlessly to their mathematical communication system. You're doing this on purpose, I accused her one evening as we watched the latest delegation set up camp in Docking Bay 4. You're orchestrating all this. I am merely facilitating cultural exchange, she said innocently. You told the warrior clans that humans consider fixing things to be a sacred duty, didn't you? I may have mentioned that your people value practical skills highly. And you suggested to the Ethereal Order that I was performing some kind of mystical labor ritual? The maintenance of life support systems could be considered mystical, from a certain perspective. I stared at her. You've been playing up my heroic reputation to make humanity look good to other species. Her smile was absolutely radiant. Finally, you begin to understand. This is all part of some elaborate plan, isn't it? Jake Martinez. Princess Zara said, You saved my life without thought for consequences or reward. This impressed my people so much that they want to ally with yours. Other species heard of this alliance and became curious about humans. Now. Dozens of civilizations want to establish relationships with Earth based on the reputation you've earned through simple decency. So what's the plan? The plan is to let you continue being yourself while I handle the diplomatic complexities you find so tedious. She gestured at the assembled alien delegations. You represent the best of humanity without trying to. I make sure the galaxy knows it. And what do you get out of this? Her expression became more serious. I get to watch the most genuinely good person I've ever met accidentally create the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. It is remarkably satisfying. Before I could think of a response to that, the proximity alarm started blaring again. Another ship was approaching the station, this one broadcasting what our computers identified as a priority diplomatic signal. "Who is it now?" I asked wearily. Princess Zara checked her communication device and grinned. "The Galactic Council. They want to formally recognize humanity as a major power and invite Earth to join the interstellar community. Because I pulled you out of a burning ship. Because you pulled me out of a burning ship and then spent 2 months proving that humans are exactly as honorable as that action suggested." I looked out at the assembled ships representing dozens of species, all here because word had spread about one guy having a decent Tuesday. "I still just want to fix things," I said. "I know," Princess Zara replied. "That's what makes you perfect for this." 6 months later, I was sitting in what used to be my maintenance workshop, now converted into the Office of Human-Alien Relations, trying to figure out how my life had gone so completely off the rails. The walls were covered with gifts from various species, ceremonial weapons I'd never use, crystals that supposedly enhanced mental clarity, and a flowering plant from the Verdant Alliance that sang lullabies in 17 different languages. Princess Zara sat across from me, reviewing the latest batch of diplomatic proposals with the kind of efficiency that suggested she'd been born for this work, which, considering her royal background, she probably had been. "The Mechanical Consortium has agreed to share their industrial fabrication technology," she reported. "The Aquatic Federation wants to establish cultural exchange programs. And the warrior clans are offering combat training for human military forces. All because I did my job 6 months ago." "All because you did the right thing 6 months ago," she corrected. "There is a difference." I leaned back in my chair, looking out the viewport at the permanent fleet of alien vessels that had essentially turned Orbital Station 7 into the unofficial capital of interspecies diplomacy. Ships from dozens of worlds, crews from hundreds of species, all here because they wanted to meet the humans and see if we really were as decent as advertised. Most days I thought we were doing okay at living up to the reputation. "Commander Brooks wants to know if you'll accept the position of Earth's first interstellar ambassador," Princess Zara continued. "The pay is excellent, the benefits include health care for 3 different biologies, and you'd get your own shuttle." "Do I have to wear a suit?" "Only for formal occasions." "How formal are we talking?" "Perhaps twice a month. Less if you're clever about scheduling." I considered this. The truth was, I'd gotten used to the weird routine of my new life. Sure, I spent more time in meetings than I'd ever wanted, but I also got to see technology that wouldn't be invented on Earth for centuries and meet beings whose very existence expanded my understanding of what was possible in the universe. Plus, someone had to make sure humanity didn't accidentally start an interstellar war through cultural misunderstanding. And despite all my complaints, I'd gotten pretty good at the diplomatic thing. "What about you?" I asked. "If I take this job officially, what happens to the whole life bond situation?" Princess Zara's expression became thoughtful. "Technically, the bond remains until I save your life in return. But given that you've now prevented approximately 15 different diplomatic incidents that could have resulted in your death, one could argue that I've been saving your life repeatedly for months. So we're even? Methan?" "We could be, if you wish to formally dissolve the bond." I looked at her, this brilliant, capable woman who had somehow turned my accidental heroism into the foundation for humanity's expansion into the galactic community. She'd become my friend, my partner in navigating the insane complexity of interstellar relations, and probably the person who understood me best in the known universe. "What if I don't want to dissolve it?" Her smile was worth seeing. "Then I suppose we continue as we have been." You do impossible things through simple decency, and I handled the paperwork. Deal. I stood up and extended my hand. Partners? Mid. She shook it firmly. Partners. That's when my communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Commander Brooks. Another ship was approaching, this one from a species we'd never encountered before. They'd heard about the human who saved a Keth Mori princess and wanted to meet this remarkable individual for themselves. You know, I said, grabbing my tool belt out of habit, I used to have such simple problems. Broken air recyclers, faulty gravity generators, the occasional plasma conduit that needed realigning. Would you go back? Princess Zara asked as we headed toward the docking bay to meet the latest group of aliens who wanted to make humanity's acquaintance. I thought about it seriously. 6 months ago, I was just Jake Martinez, maintenance tech, whose biggest concern was whether the coffee machine would work in the morning. Now I was Jake Martinez, protector bond of the Royal House of Keth Mor, unofficial ambassador to 17 different species, and according to the mystic order of Valkyrie, the blessed fixer of that which is broken. It was ridiculous. It was overwhelming. It was nothing like the life I'd planned. It was also the most important work I'd ever done. No, I said finally. I wouldn't go back. But I'm still putting in a formal request for better coffee in the diplomatic wing. I'll add it to the list, Princess Zara said solemnly. Right after the proposal for Earth to receive advanced medical technology and the offer to establish a human colony in the Centauri system. Priorities, Princess. A man's got to have priorities. And as we walked toward whatever impossible situation was waiting for us in the docking bay, I realized that sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is having your perfectly ordinary Tuesday go completely, utterly, and spectacularly wrong. After all, somebody's got to keep the universe running smoothly. And apparently that somebody was me,